Hey there, Dave from Oculu. This tutorial covers creating a live webcast utilizing the Flash video encoder. Now, this tutorial assumes that your Oculu account is currently set up to support live webcasting, and if it isn't, just feel free to contact us for details on how to get configured. Now, the first thing we need to do is install the Flash video encoder on the machine that resides at the event location. So this is basically your computer that's going to accept the audio and video feed that would be coming from a camera or a switcher at the event if it's a multi-camera setup, or it may be as simple as just a laptop computer with a built-in camera, which is what I'm doing here for this demo. So the first step is to Google for the live Flash encoder, and that'll bring up a link for Adobe's site, and you can just follow the prompts here to download. You do need to create an Adobe account if you don't already have one. The encoder is actually a no-cost, free item. It's basically set up to support the Flash Media Server, which is a paid package. But for the content creator, again, the encoder itself is a no-cost item. So you'd click here, download Flash Media Player, and then log in to the Adobe site and download. And I've already got the encoder downloaded and set up on another machine here. I'm going to jump over to that machine. This is actually just my MacBook with the built-in camera. And once you launch the Flash encoder, the first thing you're going to want to do is set up your bitrate and pixel size. Now, normally nowadays you'd be doing a 16:9 aspect ratio and accepting a feed that's either in HD or maybe standard def and widescreen. In this case, again, I'm using the built-in camera on the MacBook, and it's inherently 4:3, and the resolution's also a bit restrictive at 320 by 240. So I'm just going to utilize those same settings in the encoder, and I'm also going to go with a very small bitrate for demo purposes. And again, at an event, I'd recommend you're probably going to be doing something like a base stream size of about 500 or 600K per second, and 640 by 360. 640 by 360 is also the default playback size for video on demand content in the Oculu video dashboard. So once you've got the Flash Media Live encoder installed and you have picture and sound feeding into the encoder correctly, and you've defined your width and your height, the next step is to get the FMS URL, and in this case we are going to pull this from the Edgecast service, which is Oculu's partner for live webcasting. And to do so, I'm going to switch back to my local machine here, and you go to my.edgecast.com, and Oculu will have already provided you with a login and password for Edgecast, again, if your account is configured for live webcasting. So I log in. First step is to click on the Flash tab and go down to Publishing Point. In this case, I'm going to pull from the Los Angeles location because it's the closest geographically to where my encoder is located. And I strongly recommend doing a copy and paste as opposed to trying to manually type in this string. Obviously, if you get any of the characters wrong or you have an extra space in there somewhere, it'll prevent the encoder from correctly establishing a connection over at the CDN. Or in most cases, it'll actually connect and it appears everything's working correctly. You're just not going to be able to view the live stream. Switching back over to my encoder machine, you can see here I've already populated the FMS URL, which is the publishing point off of the Flash tab. And the next thing you need to do is you need to give the stream a name. In this case, it's just a test, and I'm going to use my name, Dave, all lowercase, as the name. And the second piece of the stream field is you need to provide the authorization key. This is basically the password that allows connection to the Edgecast network. You basically can't send a stream in without an authorization key, and that's also part of your my.edgecast.com account. And if I go again to the Flash tab and this time click on Live Auth, you'll have a global key here. In this case, I just set up an easy one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you can change this at any point. Two things to keep in mind. One is whenever this value is changed, it can be alphanumeric. It takes about 2 hours for this to propagate through the Edge network. So don't think you can go in there and make a change an hour before your live event and expect everything to work correctly. I actually recommend doing this several days in advance if you do want to change it. It's okay to use the default as well. And if you're in a case where you have multiple live events happening for, say, multiple customers on the same day or within the same account, you can set up unique stream keys for each of those encoders so that you're basically not giving someone full access to your account to do an unlimited number of streams. So in this case, I've just set up 2 test ones here for demo purposes. So right now, I'm going to lift out the global key that I've defined here and type that in after the stream name. Now the next step here is to add a question mark and then type in your global key. No spaces, stream name, the question mark, and your authorization key, and then click connect. As you can see here, we've successfully connected. Next, click on start to enable the encoder. And as this spools up, you get some status feedback, and you can see here audio and video encoding have successfully started. Okay, the next step is to set up your video player to view the live stream. Currently, we're using the Edgecast tools and the JW player for live viewing of a stream. Once the event has concluded and the video title is now effectively a video on demand piece, that's when it'll appear in the Oculus video dashboard, and you can follow the standard Oculus insertion instructions to drop a VOD title into a page, either as a lightbox or an embedded video piece. However, in the case of a live event, we are currently using the JW player, which is Edgecast's recommended procedure for displaying a live stream. And you can set up a player that generates the code to drop on your page by clicking on the Tools tab. Scroll down to the bottom, and we will skip step 1 by clicking next. And then on step 2, select your player template. Choose the the FLV player with an RTMP live stream. It's the bottom option on the drop-down. And then you'll define your size here for the player. This is actually easy to change later, but we'll key in our test size of 320 by 240. And again, I recommend doing a 16 by 9 stream aspect ratio and say 640 by 360 as a size, because that again is the default size for most players out there, including the Oculus platform. And again, I'm using this smaller 4x3 size only because for this tutorial I'm running the built-in camera on a MacBook. Next, you need to choose the server, and in this case I've only got one set up. And then the final box here is my stream name, which is the value I typed in on the encoder side, which I labeled it Dave. Now, do not key the authorization key in on the player side, because you would effectively be giving all your end viewers the password to create live webcasts. So all you need to do here is enter in the stream name and click next. And on step 3 here, I've basically got a sample player as well as the JW player insertion code that'll go on your page to play the live stream. And we'll click play on the preview. And there is my live stream. So again, if you have a hand-coded web page, the first thing you need to do is download the JW player, read through the licensing agreement. There is some licensing and possibly a fee involved with hosting the JW player on your site. Now, if you're running a WordPress site or a similar CMS type of system, generally JW Player is set up as a plugin. Here I've got our Innovate Media website, our sister company, which is WordPress based, and I've already installed the JW Player under plugins, add new, and I've set up a player for this test labeled live, and I have the height matching my source side of 320. Actually, it's incorrect, so we'll change it right now. We want a height of 240 and a width of 320. Save. And next I'm going to jump over to my test live page, which I created as a post in WordPress, live stream test. And this is the formatting, and this actually contradicted some of the instructions for the JW Player plugin. The example they provided had some quotation for the values, and we weren't able to get it to work that way. I actually had to just strip out all the quotes, and now everything works as you would expect. So here's a little cheat. If you're running WordPress, this is how it needs to be formatted. And you can see here I've got the test page already running on the Innovate Media site, And there's our live stream, and that's actually at the previous size. I'll refresh the page, and it'll come up as 320 by 240. Okay, now the final step is regarding archiving for video on demand use of an event once it's concluded. Make sure you have the archive setting enabled within Edgecast. Now, we have it set up to default to yes, so this would only be a case if someone has gone in there and turned it off, but I'll show you where that's located. If you choose Flash, Advanced Settings, Server-Side Archiving, and you click on Enable Server-Side Archiving. Enable Appending. Basically what's happening if that is checked is, say you stop the encoder and a minute later you start it up again. If this is checked, it'll append the FLV file that's being generated. I feel the Enable Appending setting is a lifesaver. After 12, almost 15 years of live webcasting experience, I've had many times at events the encoder will crash for some unknown reason in the middle of the event, so you frantically have to restart it and get it running again, and then you've got these multiple archive files that need to be stitched together for the on-demand version after the event. In this case, if you turn it on, it basically will append the file, and then at that point you've only lost whatever your downtime was while the encoder was restarting. There are some limitations on this. I would double check the Edgecast documentation, but it's roughly 10 or 20 minutes of time. The clock starts when you stop the stream. So say you stop the encoder, you wait 60 minutes, and then you start it again. At that point, it's not going to append the previous file. It'll write a new file. So there's only a 10 or 20 minute window where the appending takes effect. And at this point, that's a global setting on the Edgecast side that can't be customized on a per event basis. If you have any additional questions, please open a ticket or contact us.